Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, today we're taking a look at an old camera. Well, it's not old, it's actually 7 years old. So in digital terms, digital photography terms, that's actually quite old. And what we're looking at is the excellent Sony a6000, and here it is. I've actually got fitted to it my Sony 18-105 G lens. It's an APS-C lens. Great lens on a great body. Now, what I want to discuss here, is it worth buying the a6000 in 2021 and beyond possibly? Now, I think it is, because I still think it's a great camera at a pretty reasonable price, but I would probably suggest you buy second hand, because there's lots of them on the used market and they're at great prices, and you're going to get a fantastic camera for a very low investment, really. Now, the Sony a6000 has the 24 megapixel sensor, the same sensor apparently as what the new ZV E10 has, and which is what I've got here. This is the new ZV E10. Great APS-C camera, 3-inch articulating screen. Designed as a content creation camera. I've done a couple of videos to do with the ZV E10. There'll be a link to one of them up here, or is it up here? No, up there, isn't it? I'm not sure. There'll be a link to that up there. And I love using the ZV E10. But what is frustrating with it, I say frustrating, to me it hasn't got a viewfinder. And I do like a camera with a viewfinder. I did find on a few occasions when I'm out and about that in really bright sunlight, I couldn't see the framing terribly well, and I couldn't see the composition as well as I could have done if I had a viewfinder. So I've got many other Sony cameras that I could use. I've got many other cameras. I particularly like the Sony a7C, but I was looking for a camera that was small. I've already owned the a6000 for a long time. I sold it, then I bought another one, sold that one, and I bought it again. And I wanted a camera that was really, really compact, that I could take out and about with me and throw two little cameras in my Billingham bag. I've got a small Billingham bag just here, he says, somewhere here. I wanted two cameras that would fit in this really small Billingham bag. You can see there isn't a great deal of space in there, because it is a small bag. But these two cameras, even with this 18-105 lens on, fits in this bag beautifully. So, and there's no weight to it. So that to me was key. I do suffer with a bad back as I'm getting older. I suffer with a bad shoulder. So I didn't want to be lugging around heavy gear. But this is brilliant. The a6000 is brilliant. 24 megapixel sensor, great autofocus. It hasn't got the same autofocus algorithms as what the newer Sony ones have got, but it's still got a really good autofocus system in it. And as I say, you've got your 24 megapixel sensor inside there. Move that out of the way. 24 megapixel sensor inside the camera, and as I say, because it's the same sensor as what they're still using, you're pretty much guaranteed really, really good pictures. You have to be a little bit careful with your focus because it hasn't got the same algorithms, but with a little bit of practice, you can get the same images off here as you can off the a6400, 6500, 6600, and so forth. Really compact body. The finger does slide underneath, but that doesn't worry me. It's nice to have a compact body. Not a bad grip, not the best grip, but it's not a bad grip. The battery it takes is the FW50 battery, which is the older battery, which would make sense because this is an older camera. So it takes the FW50 battery there, which ironically is exactly the same battery as the new ZV E10. Now that's another Brucey bonus for me, because I can shove a couple of batteries in the one bag and they'll fit both cameras. So this is a lovely companion for the ZV E10 at a really low price. They both take exactly the same lenses because it's an E-mount, APS-C E-mount. The SD card slot goes in with a battery compartment. Never my favourite position for SD cards, but that is what it is, and that's where that goes. That just slots into there. And on the top plate, fairly traditional. You've got your PASM dial, hot shoe. You've even got the flash, which the A6, where are we? The ZV E10 doesn't have. So you've got a flash, and also you can bounce it, which is, you know, kind of useful. You're not going to get a lot of power from this flash gun because obviously it's a built-in flash, but for a bit of fill-in may well be fine. And then you've got your on-off switch around the shutter release there, and you've got a control dial on the back there, as well as one on the back of the camera here. Now, I've got mine set up, which I have on virtually all my cameras. I've got this one for the main control dial for setting either your shutter speed if you're in shutter priority, your aperture if you're in aperture priority, and then I've got the back dial configured for exposure compensation, and that works absolutely fine. Yeah, got no complaints with that at all. So the functionality is really, really good. It's actually very similar to the ZV E10, which is, there's a lot of similarities, and there's 7 years difference between the release of these two cameras. The ZV E10 has got the one master control on the back and the control wheel on the back there. So, you know, very, very similar. And that's why I like using both of them, because the configuration of both of them is so similar. Your muscle memory, you don't have to keep remembering, you know, with different settings for the different cameras you're using. And muscle memory, when you're going out and about, is really useful to be able to make quick adjustments on the fly. The autofocus is lovely. Hasn't got as many autofocus points as what the modern cameras have, but it works a treat. It's also got IAF, which you wouldn't have thought of a camera of this age would have IAF, although it has to be activated by a button. That's not a big deal. All I've done, I've set up the AEL button. I've reprogrammed the AEL button for being the IAF button. So when I'm taking photographs, I just do that and hold that button in. And then if there is a face in the picture, then it will pick out the eye. And it does. It's really good at picking the eye out. So, you know, a lot of functionality with a camera of this age. And that's why I'm still saying I can highly recommend it. It's got the tilty screen, as opposed to the articulating screen that most of the modern cameras have. I actually, for photography, prefer the tilty screen. I find it awkward having to pull out the articulating screen for doing photography. I like to be able to, if I'm just doing a low angle shot, just do that. Boom, there we go, already set, you know. And I feel more secure with photography using a tilty screen than I do an articulating screen. But for video, the articulating screens are phenomenal, and I'd struggle to go back to using the camera with a tilty screen. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword, really, isn't it? You know, what is great for one purpose isn't so great for another purpose. For example, my close-up shot is being shot on the GH5 Mark II. That's great. That's got the articulating screen and the red frame around the monitor, so I can clearly see that is recording. I'm filming another shot, wider shot on my ZV-1 over there, and again, it hasn't got the red frame, but it has got the red tally light, so I know that's recording. The close-up shots are being filmed on the ZV-1. That's great. And then I've got my A7C over there filming. I've got an external monitor plugged into that because it's a bigger monitor, and that's where the sound is going into. And the sound is being recorded via my Hollyland Lark 150. And then I might be using another angle, which is my Insta360 1R 1-inch 1-inch mod of a back here. I might not use it, I might use it. So there we go. That's the Sony a6000. Now, the great thing is, because it's E-mount, it's quite at home with the E-mount full frame lenses. So you can put on, for example, this is a great lens for this camera. You can put this lens on, which is the 20mm f2.8 Tamron. Now, obviously, in APS-C terms, that's going to be 30mm, so you just have to be conscious of that, take into account the crop factor. But it's quite at home with this lens. The autofocus is working great. Really, really, again, keep coming back to this compact body. Really nice compact body. and it's a great lens for this camera. Yeah, no complaints with that at all. Not exactly wide because 30mm is getting close to the sort of nifty 50, but still very light and compact. Great combination. The Viewfinder is a 1.4 million dot, I don't think it's OLED, but it's a 1.4 million dot resolution viewfinder. Again, for me, absolutely fine. Don't have an issue with that at all. Absolutely fine viewfinder. Does the job nicely. So, and that's why this, along with the ZV E10 and that one little bag, is a brilliant combination. I've got the one camera which I can keep a wide angle lens on, possibly something like this Tamron lens, and then I can keep the 18-105 lens on the other camera. And I've got one with a viewfinder if I need it, and I can interchange the lenses if I need to. So if you're into photography and you want something that's great value for money but still can take great images, then the a6000 has got the functionality. It is really, really good. It does 11 frames a second, and again, I keep coming back to the fact this camera came out in 2014. For a camera that can do 11 frames a second back then, I think is great. Is really, really good. Nicely made, well made body. It's not it's not going to win any major awards for its construction. It isn't weather sealed, but it's absolutely fine. It's got clean HDMI output, so it has got a HDMI socket on the side there. Gives you clean HDMI out. It hasn't got the modern features like being able to power it off USB. It hasn't got unlimited record time in video. In fact, the video is kind of its downside, but I'm going to show you a clip that I filmed out in a garden, and although it only films HD, it doesn't do 4K. As long as you're careful with how you film with it, you get great results. So I've come outdoors just to do a quick test recording with the Sony a6000 out in the garden, and I think you'll find it's really good. There's nothing wrong with the a6000 for video, as long as you don't want to be too clever with it. Firstly, as I said in my review, there is no audio input jack, there's no microphone jack, so you need to use an external microphone. Please don't use the microphones built into the camera, they're not very good. I'm using a Sony microphone here. I'll put in the video what the microphone is. It's basically a recorder and a microphone just in one little unit. Absolutely ideal, as long as you remember to hit record on both items and you have a way of syncing the audio. In Final Cut Pro, that's a doddle. You just sync the two clips together. Absolutely perfect. So it records good quality video. It is only HD, because don't forget, we are talking about a camera that dates back to 2014, but it does record it in XAVCS codec. It isn't using AVC HD, so you're getting a better codec and a better compression. So the video quality for YouTube is fine. You can't do much in the way of cropping. It pretty much is what it is, but it is HD. And it's completely fine. I'm more than happy with it. You have got a 30-minute record limit, unlike the modern Sony cameras where you've got an unlimited record time. But if you work within these limitations, you're absolutely fine. It's got a clean HDMI out, so you can go to an Atomos recorder if you wanted to do so. I'm not, I'm just recording internally to the internal SD card. And again, I find that completely fine for the sort of short video clips that I'm doing. Now, I wouldn't want to do it handheld because the image stabilization certainly isn't going to be particularly good. It hasn't got 5-axis image stabilization. It's got artificial sort of electronic image stabilization. So it's not going to be as good as the Panasonics, the Olympuses and the more modern Sony cameras. But I think for a camera that's of 2014, takes great photographs because it's got the same sensor as the very latest ZV E10 and the 6400, 6300 and what have you. So, a great little camera, great investment. They're so cheap to buy now on the used market, and they're not particularly expensive on the new market. I'm not sure I would buy it new, but there you go. I bought this one second hand. So there we go. There's a quick video or short video clip. I'm shooting at 1/50th of a second and I'm using manual exposure, but I've got it set to auto ISO. And again, for a camera of this age, to be able to set everything manually, I think is great. A lot of cameras you can't do that with. You're reliant on automatic. Not with this Sony. You can set all the parameters manually apart from the audio. As I said, the audio is very much its weak link. But using an external recorder, not an issue. And there's somebody drilling in the background. Sorry about that. Or doing something. I'm not sure what they're doing. But there we go. Now let's get back to the studio to finish off this review. It's not a camera that I would use every day of the week for video, and there's a number of reasons for that. And it isn't because it's only HD, it's because of its limitations with its record limit, and I can't power it off a USB stick. But the HD quality is really good. It records in the XAVCS codec, so you can getting a better compression than you would do with AVC HD, which is what it originally came out with. But Sony at some point updated the firmware to be able to record in XAVCS, so you're getting a really good codec. Its biggest downside for video, there's no microphone jack, absolutely none on here whatsoever. So you're either reliant on the inbuilt microphones of this camera, which I certainly would recommend that you don't rely on, or you use an external source for recording the audio and then sync it together in the edit. Very, very easy to do with most of the modern software. I mean, for example, I use this little device. It's a Sony audio recorder, effectively, with a built-in, flash drive, built-in microphone on the top there. You can plug another microphone into it, a lavalier mic into the socket if you wanted to. And then I use that, just clip that to me shirt or whatever, and then post sync it afterwards. And that's exactly what I'd done in the garden. It was this microphone that I used, and I put in the description what this microphone is, a model number, and it's about 60-70 quid, so it's not expensive. But you can use any form of external audio. You can use one of the Zoom audio recorders, and there's plenty of them. One of the Tascam audio recorders, there's plenty of them. And then just sync it. Then you're going to get great video. So the audio is its Achilles heel, really, but it's not, it's not the end of the world, because you can, get around it. So I think that, value for money and for what it can do, and its size and its compactness, this really does take some, even, is comparable to the modern day cameras. Really, really comparable. Not so much for video, but certainly for photographs. I mean, if we look at quickly look at a few of these photographs, I've got them loaded in Capture One. We'll go full. Let's go on that. Right. Crisp, really nice colours, really sharp. These were shot, I believe, on the 18-105. I'm pretty sure it is, because that's the lens that was on it. But really, really sharp images, and the colours are great. I will put, I mean, look, just really, really good. I will put a link to my Flickr page. These samples will be uploaded to my Flickr page, so you can have a better look at them on Flickr than you can on this YouTube video, because the compression isn't there, so it's a much better way of looking at images, is looking at them on Flickr. And I think you'll see that when you do look at them, that there's nothing wrong with the images that come off the a6000. I mean, look at that crisp. I mean, absolutely crisp. I'm absolutely delighted with the images that come off this camera. I've got no concerns with taking this out to take photographs with. No concerns whatsoever. Now, what I haven't done as yet is seen how good the ISO performance is. That's one area where modern day cameras have improved in leaps and bounds, is high ISO settings. The modern day cameras are going to be better than these older cameras. But I suspect it's still going to be pretty good, unless you're shooting at ridiculously high ISOs. But I would think up to about 3200, possibly 1600, it'll be absolutely fine. And I say, when you're looking at these images of these flowers, they're stonking. I could print those 16 by 20, certainly 8 by 10, 16 by 20, no problem at all. I'd have no issues with that whatsoever. I'd be quite happy to do that. So, yeah, Yeah, very nice images. Now, this camera, the a6000, does have a hot shoe, and it's got the Sony multi-interface shoe. But what I have discovered, a lot of the newer microphones won't work with this camera. So you need to check what microphones will work with this camera. The reason why I say microphones, because it is designed for microphones that you don't need a cable with. The other thing is, it'll only be auto audio. You're not going to be able to set manual audio levels. It is purely auto audio levels on this camera. But you know, it's got its function buttons. I've assigned this one, what have I assigned that one for? Yeah, focus mode. So, you know, you can set your function buttons for, you know, what you want to do, what suits you really. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say about the camera. There we go. As for what I think of a Sony a6000 in 2021, I still think it's an excellent camera. If you're purchasing it used, I got mine from Wex Photographic. They're a great supplier, and I got it for, well, this is September actually, no, August 2021, and I got it for 300 quid. So I think that's a bargain for, you know, what it can do. And as I say, yeah, nice little camera. So there we go. Hope you found that short video on the a6000 interesting. And, you know, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And hit the like button if you found this content particularly useful. It really does help me grow the channel. I really appreciate everyone who does like and subscribe. Leave comments below. Maybe you own an a6000. Maybe you're thinking of getting an a6000. Let me know. I'd be very interested to see what your thoughts are on the a6000 or the Sony E-mount range in general. I'm loving my ZV-1s. I'm loving the ZV E10 as a content creation camera. This certainly isn't, it can create really good content, but you have to work a little bit harder to get that, mainly because there's no mic jack and headphone jack. So there we go. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't done so, as I've already said, and hit the like button, and look out for the link for the Flickr page, so you can have a look at the images on Flickr. So there we go. Thanks very much. Cheers for now. Bye.